Why Berlin made a huge mistake closing Tegel Airport. Berlin's Tegel Airport, TXL, was an iconic part of the city's transportation system. For decades, it was known for its speed, convenience, and efficiency. Yet, despite its popularity, Tegel was closed in favor of the controversial Brandenburg Airport. But was this decision a good one? Was it really the right move to close a well-functioning airport and replace it with a massive new terminal that was plagued with delays, cost overruns, and logistical nightmares? In this video, we'll explore why Tegel should have remained open and why it outperformed Brandenburg in several important aspects like location, efficiency, and overall passenger experience. We'll also take a closer look at why Brandenburg still hasn't lived up to its potential, despite all the time and money spent to create it. The advantages of Tegel Airport. Let's start by looking at why Tegel was loved by travelers and why it became an iconic part of Berlin's airport scene. Tegel was famous for its efficiency and convenience. Its terminal layout was unique, as it was designed in a hexagonal shape, meaning that once you entered, everything was in close proximity. Passengers could move quickly from check-in to security and onto their gate in minutes. This was a huge advantage for anyone in a rush or dealing with a tight layover. Unlike other airports with sprawling terminal buildings where you have to walk for ages, Tegel's layout was quick, efficient, and designed with passenger comfort in mind. For travelers, speed was key, and Tegel delivered that every time. Security checks were another area where Tegel excelled. Since the airport was relatively small in terms of passenger capacity compared to larger airports, the security lines were shorter and much faster. People didn't have to waste time standing in endless queues. Getting through security was a breeze, and this made Tegel one of the most convenient airports in the world, especially when compared to the massive queues and long waits that are common at many international hubs. Perhaps one of the most significant advantages of Tegel was how quickly you could reach your gate. It wasn't unusual to make it from check-in to your gate in under 10 minutes. In contrast, Brandenburg, despite being a newer, larger airport, has suffered from long walking distances, causing passengers to experience much slower times to reach their gates. Efficiency was something Tegel had nailed down, and it became one of the reasons passengers loved it. Tegel's location was perfect for Berlin. Location, as we all know, is everything when it comes to choosing an airport. And Tegel had the perfect location. It was only about 8 kilometers from Berlin's city center, which made it incredibly convenient for passengers traveling into and out of the city. A taxi ride from Tegel to places like Alexanderplatz or Brandenburg Gate could take as little as 20 minutes depending on traffic. For those taking public transportation, Tegel had good connections to the Berlin U-Bahn and bus network, ensuring that passengers could easily get to and from the airport. On the other hand, Brandenburg is located around 18 kilometers outside of the city. This increases the travel time significantly, making it a much less convenient choice for those heading into Berlin. The added distance means extra travel time and costs, which many passengers find frustrating, especially if they're already dealing with flight delays or other issues. If you're staying in the heart of Berlin, you now have to factor in 30 to 45 minutes of travel time just to get to the airport. While Brandenburg is technically more modern and equipped for future growth, its location is far from ideal. Instead of serving as a quick gateway into the city, it feels isolated. Brandenburg simply doesn't have the same access to the city's key spots as Tegel did, and that's one of the big reasons travelers are still frustrated with it. Why Brandenburg hasn't lived up to expectations. Despite its years of planning, Brandenburg has failed to deliver on many fronts. While it's true that the new terminal is larger and more modern, it was plagued with issues right from the start. The construction was delayed by over a decade, and the cost of the project ballooned into the billions of euros. The airport was meant to serve as the centerpiece of Berlin's travel infrastructure, But instead, it became a symbol of poor planning and execution. The delays were so significant that Brandenburg missed multiple deadlines, opening years later than originally planned. And despite finally opening in 2020, the airport faced even more challenges, including operational problems, long delays, and complaints about the passenger experience. Security lines are still long, and the airport struggles with crowd management, causing unnecessary delays for travelers. And the layout of the airport, while sleek in some areas, has been criticized for being difficult to navigate, which detracts from the overall experience. One of the most pressing issues with Brandenburg is that it still fails to live up to the expectations that were set when it was first proposed. The airport was designed to handle a huge influx of international flights, but its operational challenges and ongoing issues with overcrowding and inefficiencies are clear signs that Brandenburg wasn't ready for the job. Tegel should have remained open. So, why should Tegel have stayed open? The main argument is that Tegel worked. Despite its older infrastructure, Tegel offered travelers a fast, efficient, and convenient experience, and it didn't come with the massive delays and inefficiencies that we see today at Brandenburg. Tegel was also much closer to the city, making it easier for passengers to access the airport without worrying about long commutes. At a time when Berlin was in need of better airport options, Tegel could have served as a perfect complement to Brandenburg, helping to spread the traffic load between the two airports. Tegel's closure has left Berlin with just one major airport, and as we've seen, Brandenburg hasn't been able to keep up with the demand or provide the quality of service that Tegel offered. In hindsight, keeping Tegel open for domestic and regional flights while using Brandenburg for international flights could have been the best solution. This would have given passengers the best of both worlds: speed and convenience at Tegel, and modern facilities at Brandenburg. Conclusion: a mistake that could have been avoided. In conclusion, Berlin made a huge mistake by closing Tegel. While Brandenburg had potential, its poor planning, ongoing issues, and location disadvantages have proven that it's not living up to the expectations set for it. Tegel may have been old, but it was efficient, well located, and beloved by travelers. It was a great airport, and it should never have been closed. Berlin would have been better off having both airports open, serving different needs, and ensuring that the city's air travel infrastructure remained robust and efficient. If you agree that Tegel should have stayed open, let me know in the comments. Also, if you've ever traveled through Tegel or Brandenburg, share your experiences. I'd love to hear your thoughts.